Hi guys, so I wanted to do a little bit of an educational video for everybody on young dog training, just what well-known recognised handlers do with their young dogs, and I just would love to get a little bit of information out there because I don't think it's spoken about. It's definitely not hidden, but I just don't think people post everything that they do with the young dogs. A lot of people sign up for young dog training. I know that at the moment I have people paying to watch what I do currently with Banana, so it's kind of not fair to those people if all these recognised trainers posted what they did with their young dogs. So otherwise it would be pointless having people paying us to watch that content. So I wanted to do a little bit of a video asking some top handlers that I really look up to in terms of what they do with their young dogs or what they do with their dogs in general, and how they train and kind of the journey that they take into getting there. So I'm hoping to make this a relatively short video. I don't want it to be massively long, but I'm going to give everybody time to talk. If everything goes to plan, this is the earliest that we would do everything, and say everything's going to plan and nothing is a problem and all of our young dogs are progressing beautifully, then this is the ages that we intend to be at. So you always plan for the best case scenario, you can't plan for the worst. We don't want to know that that's going to happen. I will give my little bit at the end just in case anybody's interested, but the handlers that I have chosen to ask for this is Dave Munnings from the UK, Dan Shaw from the UK. I've asked Martina Klimesova she was originally from Czech Republic, and I've also asked Zeljko Gora from Croatia.
So question 1, what age do I put my jump heights up? So for a collie, for a large dog that's going to end up jumping 60 centimetres, I wouldn't be jumping above 30 centimetres at 12 months old. So I get them up to 30 centimetres by 12 months. By 14 months they go up to 40 centimetres. So at 40 months they go up to 40. So they then learn to jump at 40. By 15 months I try and get them 15 and a half months I get them up to 50. So by 16 months they're definitely jumping 50 centimetres, and then by 16 months I put them up to 60 centimetres, 16 and a half. It is dog dependent, because if they're not jumping well, I'll keep them lower longer. If they're jumping effortlessly or they're jumping a bit flat, I might put them up at the ages I've said. I wouldn't put them up any quicker than what I've just said. So it is very dog dependent and weight dependent, age dependent, if they're healthy, etc. So
I start to train the stride regulators when the dog is 7 months old. The stride regulator is never higher than 20 centimeters for a large dog. I add the jump to my special games when the dog is 7 months old or older, and I keep working only with maximum 20 centimeters high jump till the dog is 1 year old. The special games means that I'm shaping the jumping style of my dog, and I work on good verbal cue understanding. It is a shaping, it means that the dog never run in full speed. I raise the bar when the dog is older than 1 year. I raise the bar gradually, and I raise the bar first in special games. My border collie Nemi, who is 2 years old now, ran her first sequence when she was 15 months old, and we used 40 or 40 centimeters high jumps. I'm not in a hurry to get to the full high jump, because I'm not in the hurry to start competing when it's allowed.
So at 12 months I aim to put my dogs on 30 centimetres, 14 months 40 centimetres, 15, 16 months, 50 centimetres, and then around 16, 17 months, under 60 centimetres. But I would happily take it slower than that if the dog didn't seem very strong in its body, or it was hyperextending too much over the jumps as the height went up. And then frequently I train my dogs lower than their full height, just to preserve their bodies.
Hi. So I will talk how early or late I start to train my dogs, and mostly I will talk about my last 3 dogs that are Tip, Ganja and Hush, because all 3 of them I train the same way. So when we talk about jumping, I usually start to jump them when they are 12 months and the height is 20 centimeters. Before that, they are just running through the wings, and at the age of 9 or 10 months, I put the stride regulators on the ground, so they are just running through it and kind of jumping around 10 centimeters. How fast I will raise the bars, there is no rules for that. I just see when they are ready, when they don't have any problems with jumping in the straight lines, turns and some small sequences. I will raise the bars a little bit higher, and that's 5 centimeters, because that's the possibility on my jumps, and until now I never had problems with that. But I'm talking about large dogs because I never had a small and medium dog.
So for me, with jump heights, I plan best case scenario with my border collies. That's all I run at the moment is border collies. I plan to have my young dogs on around micro height, so 20 centimetres, when my dogs are around 11 months old. I then like to progress up to small, so 30 centimetres at around 13 months old. 14 months old, I will have them at medium, so 40 centimetres. And then I keep them at about 40-45 centimetres until they hit 16 months old. When they're 16 months old is when I will put them up to 50. Obviously with some dogs you can prolong this a little bit. So if your dog is going to be intermediate, so here in the UK we have 4 height categories. We have small, medium, intermediate and large. So you can prolong that if your dog is in intermediate. I tend to have my dogs up at around 50 at 16 months old, and then at 18 months old I progress up to 60.
Question 2. What age do I plan teaching weave slalom? So I shape 3 poles when they're a year old, just literally teach them to do 3 poles just for food, really slow. By the time I wouldn't actually start teaching weaves, I teach 2x2. So I wouldn't start teaching that until they were 15 months old, because I should be able to do it within 2 weeks maximum, absolute max. So they should be weaving by the 16 months. I wouldn't teach before then. Again, there's no point. They don't need to be repetition through weaves, repeating all the time, because it's just going to be bad for them physically.
I trained the first weave lesson with Nemi when she was 15 months old. Again, I used special games to introduce the dog to weave, and it was going quite fast with her. I add only 1 gate to special game first, and then 2 gates and 3 gates. And after around 14 trainings, Nemi was ready to run half of the weave in the small sequences. I think that it was going so fast because Nemi was already a very experienced dog, and we played a lot of different special games. So to find the rules of weave, it was quite easy for her.
Okay, so with my dogs I teach them a 3-pole entry method to get cool weave entries, and I start that when they're around 12 months. They pick up on it really quickly, and it's kind of the equivalent, I guess, to doing a wing wrap. They're just doing a little bit of a bend going in, so I start that at 12 months. And then with Boffin and with my next dog, I use 2x2 to teach the 12 weaves, and they can learn to do 12 weaves in like 2 weeks. So it's not something you need to start young. I would say at the very, very earliest, 14 months. But I'll probably be more likely to start at 15 months. And if you were doing channels, I would say start at 14 months because it just takes a little bit longer on that method.
When we are talking about the weaves, my method of training weaves is a channel, and I start to introduce them with a channel when they are 9 months old. They just need to walk through the channel, then I start to use treat and train. So the channel is wide open, train sort of all exits and entries when the channel is open, and I never close the channel before my dogs are 15 months old.
The age in which I plan to teach the weaves, I use 2x2, so it's quite a quick method. It's not one that you hang around with. So I tend to leave it a little bit later, and I leave it about 15 months old. I start.
Am I teaching a dog walk? So So dog walk is a hard one. So foundations for mat work, I started my recent one at 6 months old, literally just understanding go to mat, click, reward. So her foundation I started really young. She's just started on a plank at 8 months old. The plank's this high off the ground, so obviously sloping down. So a tiny plank, and she's literally just trotting through. So she's not going fast, she's not flying through, she's not doing any tight turns, it's all straight lines, maybe some loose turns coming up. So it depends how it progresses, but I wouldn't be putting her on a full dog walk for quite a long time, not for at least a year old. There's nothing wrong with them doing a full height dog walk when they're a year old, but I wouldn't be doing tight turns and proofing it and doing tons of other stuff. So it's all, again, it's all dependent on the dog. So, and I wouldn't be doing a full height at speed until I knew that dog had a really good understanding of its body, because I wouldn't want to risk them falling off. So it really is dog dependent, but you can start your foundations young. It just wouldn't then progress. The problem is people want to progress too quickly and then they want to build up, and all of a sudden it's a year old, the dog's doing a full height dog walk with loose turns, tight turns, proofing, difficult entries, and that's what I wouldn't do.
We started to train the dog walk with Nemi when she was around 14-15 months old. But I trained mat with her since she was 5 months old, and later I introduced her to a plank and a lot of different plank games, but I didn't raise the plank much up till she was 1 year old.
Okay, so contacts. Assuming you're training a run and dog walk, I will start mat work with my next puppy at maybe like 5 or 6 months old. Something I do a lot with my dogs is like start training something and then leave it for a week or a couple of weeks and then go back to it. So I'm not obsessively doing stuff, it's just kind of ticking over. So I start that at 5 or 6 months, building that through on the foundation levels, with the aim maybe to have the mat on the plank by the time the dog's like 11 months old, and then just work at the rate that that dog's ready for, which I think can be a little bit unpredictable with the dog walk.
Training a dog walk, here I will talk from my experience with Hush. So first I started to shape just running, walking over the plank when he was 9 or 10 months. Then I started to introduce him with a target at the age of 11, 12 months. And definitely now when I will have a young dog, I will start with introducing target. Earlier, I think around 6, 7 or 8 months. Hush was still doing only down plank dog walk when he was 16 months old, and we started with a full dog walk at the age of 17 or 18 months.
So with Lemon and Banana, my dog walk training will be a little bit different. So with Lemon, I started at 11 months old with her. Her progression was extremely quick. Not because the amount I trained, she was just a very, very easy dog. So with Banana, I've done it a little bit differently. She's 4 months old now. I have done one session on finding a mat, and it's just a little bit of mat on the floor, and it could be anything. And from her object shaping that she's done, so standing in or on something, she knows to get on something. I won't touch my mat work again until she is 8 months old, because I want to do a lot of flat work with her on the mat. I'm going to leave it until 8 months, which is a lot earlier than what I did with Lemon, but there is a lot more that I want to get done on the floor than what I ever did with Lemon. So I've got a lot of flat work games that I would like to do, so zero impact stuff. I would then plan to have her on a dog walk plank at around 11 months old. So she will be on the down ramp of a small height dog walk at 11 months old. And then I would plan to have her on a full height dog walk, either doing half dog walks or full dog walks at around 14 months old.
A-frame, so teaching the A-frame again, should be able to teach that. If the dog walk's taught, should be able to teach the A-frame really quick, so I wouldn't start that before 15 months. They don't need it. It should be done within a month. Teaching it nearly as much as I would need them to be taught by 16 months, so 15 months at the very earliest for putting them over an A-frame.
The A-frame and the SEESAW are the last agility obstacles I train with my dogs. I started to train A-frame with Nemi when she was 15 or 16 months old. I trained the full height A-frame immediately, but I use back chaining. It means that I train a lot just the end of the A-frame till I'm sure that the dog is ready for the whole A-frame. And then when I introduce my dog to the A-frame Then I'm very careful that the dog is never flying over the top, because I think that it might be really dangerous. And I do my best like to start the dog very close to the A-frame, or even hold the dog by the collar at the beginning if necessary, to allow my dog to get used to the A-frame, to find out how to do it, but not in a full speed, to be sure that then when we add more speed gradually, the dog is not going to fly over the top of the A-frame.
The A-frame I always leave till last, with the assumption that if you've got a running dog walk, hopefully, touch wood, you'll get it for free or with not too much training. But in the early stages, you can really see dogs really hyperextending their back end as they go over the apex. So I try to leave that till last, when the dog is hopefully a little bit stronger.
A-frame, I will definitely start to train when dog walk will be done. And first time when I tried to do A-frame with Hush, he was 17 or 18 months. I just tried to see how it will work, and then when I started to train it like regularly before competition, he was 19 months old.
So A-frame, again, around 15 months old for me. I think it's quite a high impact piece of equipment. I also like to have my dog walk finished by the time I do my A-frame. But yeah, for me, I think the velocity in which they come over the apex and they're travelling down, and you see some scary A-frames, and I think most young dogs do scary A-frames at some point in their training, and I just like to make sure that the body can kind of cope with that. So I would say about 15 months old, I start my running A-frame training, and I personally start on a low A-frame because I don't believe in the buy one get one free method. I believe in the buy one get one half price. I like to start on a lower A-frame.
Same with SEESAW, 15, 16 months. Again, I should be able to train it within. I would start foundations on a SEESAW young, so like with my puppy now, she's 8 months old, she's already like touched it and felt it moving and heard it bang, so she's done lots of foundation stuff on it, but she's not going to be going over a full SEESAW to a tip until she's like 16 months old. So I will do loads of foundation stuff and little tiny bits, but I don't want any compression of the joints and any of that real hard pushing down until I know that her body and her joints are ready for that kind of action and all that compression, etc.
He started to train the agility SEESAW when he was 16 or 17 months old. But when she was 15 months old, we started to play our small SEESAW games.
With SEESAW, I play loads of foundation games for confidence, like the noise of the SEESAW and the movement of something on the dog, and back-end awareness, and that stuff can all happen from 6 months old. But in terms of actually putting the dog on the SEESAW and doing like official SEESAW training, I probably would start that around 12 months old.
SEESAW I start to train when they are around 8 months, just going in 2-on-2-off position. I have a really small SEESAW, kind of not even 1 meter long, which is just a little bit higher from the ground, so just the plank, and that's something that I do in the house, in the living room, that the dog will just have a forward focus on it, understands when I will say command that he needs to go in 2-on-2-off position. I will do a lot of bang games that they are just jumping into the position on the normal SEESAW, but of course not even close to full height, that they are not afraid of the noise. And how fast I will go with the SEESAW, it just depends about the dogs, how confident they are. When I am satisfied with the speed, to raise SEESAW a little bit higher. And Hush was doing full high SEESAW when he was around 19-20 months, just before we started to compete.
Again, another high impact piece of equipment in the SEESAW for me. I like to wait again until 15 months old, so you'll notice I'm leaving what I believe to be the higher impact pieces of equipment to train until around 15 months old. But with the SEESAW, I like to start training at around 15 months old. It normally takes me about a month and a half to start to completion, and again I like to wait until my dog walk's fully done for that. But I just think this is quite a lot of impact. We do use shock absorption pads under the end of our SEESAW, but we do take them away at some points to get the dogs used to the clout that when the seesaw hits the floor.
So tunnels, I teach a straight tunnel quite early, so they can go through a straight tunnel when they kind of let them play around the equipment on their own. They learn to run through it themselves. They kind of teach themselves a tunnel. And then I will start doing curved tunnels. So I'll do curved tunnels by the time they're 8 months old, but they won't be going in super fast. They'll be very loose curves. They're not going to be like super tight C shapes. I'll make sure they're very well bagged all the time. It's no different. They're really running just on a walk and turning. So as long as they're not going in crazy fast, as long as they're really anti-slips, they're not sliding over, and as long as they are not that super tight curve, I don't mind them doing them young. I wouldn't put them through a loose tunnel with hardly any bags or fixings. I wouldn't put them through a massive curvy tunnel. I wouldn't put them in with tons and tons of speed because all that compression on the shoulders as they whack into the side. So I am careful with it. Again, I don't mind doing it a bit younger, but you have to it's all about the progression of it and not rushing on too fast.
I changed my opinion about tunnel during the years I trained dogs. My Moody Tiki is 12 years old now, and I introduced her to tunnel when she was 10 months old. My first border collie, Biffy, now he's 7 years old. I introduced him to tunnel when he was 12 months old. And with Nemi, with my youngest, I introduced her to tunnel when she was 14 months old. I think that I don't feel like I need to train tunnels earlier, but what I do with the puppy, I play channel games. It means that I build a channel and I train directional verbal cues using this channel, and later I build a cover for this channel, so it's like a tunnel, so the dog can see me, but it's the surface is the same like the surface of the surrounding. So I like it because I can train all the skills I need later, but not using the real agility tunnel.
Okay, so with the tunnel, I don't know that I have a strict age when I start the dogs going through a straight tunnel. I guess approximately about 6 months old. And at that same time, I'll be doing like reinforcement zone work, so foundation games around tunnels as well, so the dog doesn't become obsessed with them. I'll probably be doing more of that than actually putting the dog through the tunnel.
Training the tunnels, I start to shape short tunnels like 3 meters long when puppies are like 5 or 6 months. Just shaping that they will just offer me behavior they want to go through the tunnel. Then I will add a little bit more speed, just do it with a toy, not put them for sure in any kind of sequences. And with the curved tunnels, I start around when they are 9 or 10 months.
So tunnels for me, straight tunnels would be around 8 months old. I don't see any problem with, as long as the entry and the exit is straight, I see no issue with doing straight tunnels about 8 months old. I really have no issue with that. So with curved tunnels, I tend to leave those until about 10 months old with 0 speed into and out of. So just restraining my dog right at the entry of the tunnel, giving them no speed, so they're starting fully decelerated, just so they can't slip or hurt themselves or do something stupid.
Last question, what age do I teach? Wing wraps. I will shape a wing wrap when the puppy's about 6 months old, literally just with a bit of food and a clicker, teach them to just wrap something so they're walking, their maximum of trotting. 8 months old now my puppy is, and she can do wing wraps at speed. But it's not about can they do a wing wrap, it's how much you repeat something. So she will do a wing wrap session or a session with some sequences of wings once a week. She might do one other session in that week on wings, but it will be a small session and just doing some shaping stuff. So it's not about how young you teach it, it's about how much you do. So I don't have a problem with people teaching wraps young, but if they then progress to doing massively hard world champ level courses at a year old, then they've progressed and done too much of it, because my 8-month-old puppy can do wing wraps and she can send to a wing and run off, but she could not sequence those wings in a hard sequence. She wouldn't have a clue. So it's all about how much you progress them. I put a pole on her height. She's got height on. She's jumping 10 to 15 centimeters now, so just tiny little bit. So she has to actually understand that she's going to be getting some value for the poles and actually understanding to look for the jumps, but she's not doing tons of it. It's maximum of twice a week, probably just once at the moment on the whole, of actual speed and running. I don't mind them doing other things slow, but actual coming in at speed and putting things together, that's what I don't like to do too young. But it's not always about age, it's about progression and how often you train. So it's a lot more about quality than quantity.
Use special games to shape the tight turns, and I use only cones at the beginning and later cones and the barriers, and later when the dog is at least 7 months old, I add the jump to the game. Never higher than 20 centimeters till the dog is 1 year old. I mean the large dog. And I like it a lot because I already have said it's shaping. It means I'm sitting and the dog is working alone. It means that the dog is never working in their full speed. And thanks to that, they can find nicely how to do perfectly the tight turn. So how to turn the head, how to use the body, how the body should follow, and I create the right habits. So later when I add more speed to the games and I add my handling, then the dog's body already knows what to do, and I think thanks to that there is less pressure on the dog's body.
Shaping the turns around the cone or just the pole, I start earlier when they are 6, 7 or 8 months, so it's just shaping that they will offer me behavior to go to left and right, so they have some pre-foundation before I will put them on the wings and do wing reps. Wing reps I start to do around age of 9 or 10 months. And since I'm not doing multi-reps and not a lot of repetition in the turns, I found that age quite okay to start with it, and I start to put the bar, like I said before, when they are 12 months old, and how fast I will raise it, it just depends how I'm happy with the turns, no touching or dropping the bars.
And last one, wing wraps. So with the wing wraps, I tend to have no speed around 9 months old. And when I say no speed, I mean my dog's probably still shaping the word. So Banana has shaped cone. She's 4 months old. She probably shaped cone 2 weeks ago. So I have no problem with doing that as a little trick training, none whatsoever. But with her, I wouldn't plan to add any speed in. She can have a little bit more distance and she can choose to run at it a little bit more around 9-10 months old, but I wouldn't add speed in until they were around 13 months old. So say straight tunnel to wing wrap, I personally would try to avoid doing that until they were 13 months old. And then adding a pole to my wing wraps. So when I add the pole in, I take away some speed. So when I add something in, I take something away a little bit. So if I'm making something harder, I make something easier at the same time. So say my dog's already had some speed into a wing wrap at 13 months old. Then if I want to add a pole in, I tend to add the pole in at around 13 months old, just as small as I can get it. I think my wings go to 15 centimetres. So they might have it at 15 centimetres for the wing wrap. And I will take away the speed element. So I won't just do straight tunnel wing wrap when I first put the pole in. I'm gonna take away that speed element and just let them think about it, think about their feet, go around relatively slow. Slow does not scare me with my training at all. Yes, I love my dogs to be driven, but I trust that they're driven from their toy play. So, and my little restrain recalls, as long as they're running to me, they have drive. So I don't push for speed lots in my training. I tend to allow a lot of thought process before I add the speed in, because if the body can't do something slow, how on earth is it going to do something at speed? I would just love to thank all the trainers, so Dave, Dan, Martina and Zeljko, for getting involved in this video. I think it would just be really good for everybody, just so we have a little bit of a baseline. If I personally really respect these trainers a lot for their dog care and what they do with their dogs, and they walk their dogs so often. That's a really big thing to me. They don't just treat them like sports animals and leave them to it. They really are pets and looked after beautifully as sports dogs as well. So that is why I wanted to get them involved in this video, and I just feel it was worth everybody learning from these incredible people, and hopefully it will give you all a little bit of an insight into everybody else's training. So thank you guys, I do hope you all enjoyed it, and yeah, enjoy watching.